Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning back into 6.8.11. My name is Kylie, and today we are going to begin the journey through my therapy and recovery at the Rehab Institute of Chicago. I last left you when I was arriving at RIC and figuring out I was in the big leagues when I got to RIC, and that was via the transfer. So, what is a transfer? The wheelchair transfer is moving your body from the wheelchair to another surface, whether it's the chair to the bed or a toilet, or vice versa by sliding or pivoting. And why are transfers so important? Independence. If you remember when I was back in ICU, it took 5 people to transfer me, and the biggest question and the biggest fear that myself and my family had was, how would I be able to do that on my own? How would I ever have independence again? And when we got to RIC, I was transferred on my first day of PT. The first 2 minutes of PT, I was transferred by one physical therapist from the bed to the wheelchair. So that gave us a lot of hope that I would regain independence and I would one day be able to do that on my own. Because after that transfer, I remember my PT, Martha, saying, don't get used to that. You're going to be doing that on your own after today. So the first couple of days of PT was learning how to deal with your current situation. I was in a wheelchair and I wasn't moving anything yet. I wasn't feeling anything yet. So I had to learn the ins and outs of a wheelchair. This is my first time ever using one, and when you're a kid, you knock around in one, and but you don't ever think about what life would be like in a wheelchair. So the first thing is transferring from the wheelchair to any type of surface, whether that is the workout mat or bed or a toilet. You have to be able to move in and out of that wheelchair on your own whenever you need to, because you never know when you have to use the bathroom, or what if you want to go to bed, or what if you need to get into your wheelchair to go somewhere. You shouldn't have to rely on someone else to do that for you. A lot of people don't understand why or how a transfer could be so difficult for someone paralyzed. And it's pretty easy to forget, even though you're sitting in a wheelchair, that when you're paralyzed, you can't move, use, feel, put weight on your legs at all. You can't use them for any help. You can't, and for me, because my paralysis was from my chest down, I couldn't use my core at all. So in order to transfer from a wheelchair to a bed or the bed to the wheelchair, it was all arms, nothing else. I could not use my legs to help pivot over. I could not swing my hips into it. I couldn't tighten my core to make sure I was stable. It was all my arms and momentum and making sure that I trusted my body to get over to where I needed to go. So RIC really tries to teach you that in your first week there, just, learning how to trust your body in this new impaired state, and learning how to use a wheelchair, and understanding the most efficient and effective ways to live your life to the fullest, because just because you're paralyzed doesn't mean you can't live your life, and you should still be able to do things by yourself on your own. So through PT, I considered the transfer to have 3 very critical steps. Step 1, tricep dips for days. So pretty much, the first step of doing a wheelchair transfer is to just build up the strength to move your body. When you eliminate your legs and your core from being able to move, then it's up to your arms to be able to move your entire body around. And when half of your body weight is dead weight, ultimately, that can't help you move, it's up to your arms. And to move your body from one surface to another requires a lot of tricep strength and arm strength. So we first worked on just building that strength and understanding how to move my body up and down with just my arms. And we use those blocks and with handles to kind of simulate what it would be like to push off the armrests of my wheelchair, armrests of a chair, or the wheels of my wheelchair. So we just did a lot of tricep dips to start, trying to get me to understand how to push up my body without the use of the rest of my body. The second step was swinging your hips using momentum. Momentum played a huge role in the transfer. Because you can't use your legs to pivot your hips over, you had to rely a lot on swinging with your upper body to get the momentum to get your hips from one end to the other. As you can see in this video, to begin with, I was struggling a lot with that. I could not figure out how to move my body in such a way that I could possibly get from one block to the other in one shot. It just took understanding and practice of moving your body in this new impaired state, and figuring out the most efficient and effective ways to not only get from point A to point B, but to get from point A to point B using the least amount of energy, because you're already expending so much energy with your upper body moving in the wheelchair and doing everything in life that you don't want to waste any unnecessary energy that you have on a transfer or in areas that should not require that much energy in your life. I finally started picking it up at the end and was able to get from point A to point B with the use of momentum at the end here. And the final step was just doing it. Trusting your body and pushing yourself to get from point A to point B without falling, and knowing that your upper body could handle what the task was. And that took a lot of strength and courage to do, but once you believe it, you can do it. And as you can see, I started to be able to do a transfer on my own at the end of this one PT session. I went from barely being able to do a tricep to transferring from my wheelchair to the mat by myself. So the transfer was the first thing that we learned at RIC, and one of the most important, in my opinion. It's taught in a time where everything is very unknown. Everything is very scary, and independence is something that does not seem achievable. You go from being so active and doing everything on your own and feeling invincible to extremely vulnerable, very dependent, and so scared of the future. And something as simple as being able to transfer your own body and figuring out how to move your body in its new state is so freeing and allows so much independence. Some independence that you would never think about unless you were in this situation. You're able, most of you are able to walk into a bathroom whenever you want and sit down. Or you're able to stand up from bed, stretch, and put clothes on. But for someone who's a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, doing those things is not that easy. And for some, requires a lot of dependence and on others to do that for you. So yeah, getting the transfer down and being able to do that on your own was one of the most freeing and positive things that I experienced in one of the darkest times of my life, because you never knew if you were going to get anything back. And the first sign and the first step down the road to recovery was being able to get into the wheelchair on your own was awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. Your support and your love and your feedback on this project has been incredible. I really enjoy sharing my journey with you guys, and I hope that it brings light and inspiration to anyone that needs it. Please continue to share, like, follow, subscribe, and I look forward to sharing much more of my journey with you soon. Thanks again. Bye.